Welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, a podcast where we dive into the depths of mental health one laugh at a time. I'm your host, Keegan, and I'm here to talk about everything from anxiety and depression to self-care and finding joy in the everyday. Because, let's face it, life can suck, but we don't have to navigate it alone. Retrieving Sanity is a partner with Podcast for Prevention, an initiative from Start Day 1 that aims to prevent suicide and promote mental health awareness. Together, we're working to break the stigma and create a more supportive community. So, grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and let's retrieve our sanity together. And today we have a very special guest, and his name is Austin Page. How are you doing today, Austin?
Doing great, bud. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate you being on the show. So you are a coach, but not just any kind of coach, right?
No, well, not just any, yes, more so fitness, training, mindset type of coach.
Okay. So whenever you say mindset, is it one that you developed?
Yes, I can't take 100% credit to it. I've pulled things and characteristics that I've either implemented from other people that I've watched, people that I admire, people that I look up to,
Uh-huh.
and also some of my own journey that hopefully we dive into a little bit here soon that I had to learn sort of the hard way.
Yeah, for sure. That's what Retrieving Sanity is all about. It's about hearing your story, where you're at, how you got there, and what you're doing now. So without further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and just what makes Austin, Austin?
Yeah, brother. Well, obviously, I am a coach. I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia, and my journey didn't start off, or my purpose, my passion wasn't coaching up until just a few years ago. And that flipped the switch that happened within my life. It started back in 2010, and it wasn't an immediate flip, but over time, something cultivated, a seed was planted into myself to where I was able to sort of help myself, and now I'm able to help others doing the same. And that event that sort of flipped the switch was a really bad car accident that I got myself into. And yeah, man. So I was in my younger 20s. It was May 9th, 2010, Mother's Day. And I thought I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. During that time period, when I was when early college, that time frame, I had that mentality. I was Superman. Nobody could hurt me, and I wouldn't hurt myself, right?
Yeah.
But a lifestyle, or I thought a lifestyle, rock star lifestyle that I was living, partying, living for the weekends, Thursday through Sunday, looking for happiness in the same place that I was losing it pretty much. Drinking, drugs, chasing chicks, stuff like that, but nothing that was serving me and really building me up. And weekend after weekend led to me going to a party one night that I really don't remember, and got in my car and decided I wanted to go home. Didn't make it far from the house, about a mile away from the house, ran off the road. And fortunately, nobody was with me. I didn't hit anybody. Nobody else was hurt, but flipped my car a few times and ended up in the hospital.
Ouch.
Yeah, man.
How many times did it flip? Do you know?
I don't remember. It's fortunate and unfortunate that whole scenario happened, but I didn't realize I was in a wreck until I made it to a different hospital to where they had told me that. And
oh, wow.
Getting like police reports and stuff back and pictures from the scene, it looks like at least flipped 3 times.
Boy.
And not like on its side, it flipped. I was going around a curve really fast and hit an embankment, and the rear of my car flipped backwards that way. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it wasn't like your ordinary, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big. And it wasn't your ordinary type of car wreck. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I'm glad that you and no one else was hurt, because that could have been really, really bad.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, go on.
Well, I landed in somebody's front yard, and they came out at like 3 a.m, and supposedly, I don't remember this, I was just told when I went to court, met all these people that had saved me, all the first responders and whatnot. And the neighbors came and pulled me out the car because it was smoking. It was leaned up against one of the trees. I wasn't really audible too much. I was just saying random shit. Of course, I was blacked out drunk. And from there, called 911. They came and took me to the local hospital. And the local hospital that I was in, a place called Tappahannock, couldn't do anything for me. It was sort of like a smaller community hospital. So they sent me to a trauma center in Richmond. And there, things got real pretty quick. Woke up a couple days later, sort of, twilight zone, because I was so drugged up from the morphine and everything else that they were giving me. I looked down and I see this huge gaping hole in my stomach that was called a wound vac. So they leave this part of my body open, pretty much my stomach from sternum to pelvic area, open with a like black sponge material in it with the hose coming out of it that would suck infectious juices like out of my stomach pretty much, because when your intestines rupture, which mine did, it causes peritonitis, which is this like, you know, where your contents of your guts just literally spill out inside of you, so it causes infection. So that was the biggest hurdle that I had to get over. And also broke both my legs from the knees down.
Ouch.
Yeah. So spent dude, crazy, unreal. But spent 6 weeks in the hospital, and from there I was released and moved to a rehabilitation center where I lived there for 2 months. And it's not like a rehabilitation center where like it's a treatment for addiction. It's just a physical rehab center. But there was plenty to learn about myself in that rehab center for sure. And during that 2 month stay, that's where the seed was sort of planted in me to start to create a new identity for myself, develop myself differently, get a new mindset, realizing things needed to change, because my lifestyle that I was living before that was getting me nowhere fast, nearly taking my life, obviously. So the only thing that I had to do in that rehab center besides sit in the bed all day watching TV was when the physical therapist would come through and they would encourage me to work out. You know, they'd say, hey, here's some rubber bands, do some stuff in the bed, because obviously I was bed bound, wasn't able to use my legs, really didn't have any strength left in me. And day after day, I started to feel a little bit better, feel a little bit more confident in myself, feel a little bit stronger. And once I was released to a wheelchair, I was able to get myself into it. They would say, all right, Austin, you're in the wheelchair now, roll your ass down to the gym. They had a little gym in this rehab center, and they would park my wheelchair in place, give me some Gatorade bottles to curl. They would get me in between these parallel bars and do dips out of my chair. I was on the cable machine doing exercises, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then. I just knew that I needed to do something to get myself out of there, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Week after week, I progressed, got better, got stronger, started to feel a lot better about myself, because I wasn't always taking these actions like I used to, where I was sabotaging, taking steps backwards. I was taking steps forwards now. Feeling good, feeling content, feeling some type of new meaning to my days, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And once I was released from that rehab center, I was able to walk myself out of there with some crutches. 2 months later, I got a job at a gym, a local gym down in that small town of Tappahannock, and it came with a free gym membership, which that's all I cared about at the time. Because before this wreck, I wasn't into working out at all. I might have worked out once a week, and I just went in there and just picked shit up and put it down. I didn't know what I was doing. And getting into a gym was something that I knew that I could lean into, because it made me feel that much better about myself in that rehab center, that it gave me a new hobby, something to focus on, and keep me away from many of the other bad habits that I used to lean into or fall into pretty much. So came with free gym membership. So I took full advantage of that. Every day I'd go to work, obviously try and work out before or after, and started to meet people, meet trainers, meet other people, learn new things. And long story short, I got a few jobs at a couple other gyms as I moved up towards the bigger city of Richmond. And now I have my own spot where I've been coaching since 2013.
Wow. Holy cow. Yeah. That is quite the journey. So I just have to say, first of all, I am so happy that you've made it through all of that, and that you not only made it through that, but now you're actually helping other people better themselves.
I think it was meant to be that way, for real. It sucks, but I think I was meant to,
Yeah, for sure. So do you think that going through the accident was necessary?
Yeah. If not, so? I'd be locked. I'd still be living in the same place. 90% chance I'd still be living in the same place, doing the same things, hanging out with the same people, probably locked up and or dead by now.
Yeah.
I was pretty reckless.
Were you? Whenever you say pretty reckless, I mean, this is a show all about being candid and open.
Yeah, man.
How reckless were you? I mean, I was
locked
an
up.
Alcoholic.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, I was getting locked up definitely before this wreck, running from cops, locked up, running from cops literally in the car, getting arrested for that. Whew. I mean, plenty of run-ins with the law. And I just never thought, back then, I just thought I was, like I mentioned earlier, I was bulletproof, 10 foot tall, nobody could touch me. I'm not listening to you. I authority, but I am the authority. And I don't know, it's just, most younger guys go through that phase. I'm not putting a blanket
Mm-hmm.
statement on everybody, but you know,
Yeah.
if you don't have, and for me, I didn't put myself in anything that gave me alignment with a more of a purpose or a path per se. I was just living for the
Ah.
weekends. I didn't have sports
Mm-hmm.
that I got into that keep
Mm-hmm.
a lot of younger generation out of trouble or help, at least. I didn't
Yeah.
have anything to focus on except the weekends, because that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I did. I followed the crowd, followed the mob, and that's what a lot of people did. So it's like, oh, well, I want to be the popular guy, so I'm going to party the most. I'm going to party the hardest. I'm going to throw the parties.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally get that. And being young, I know that you said most guys, and I definitely fell into that category too. And
Yeah.
it was really hard to get out of that mindset. I really do think that life has to throw a huge shock of some sort to create a change that's big enough to create a new person, a new identity, to
Yeah.
get you in line with where you're supposed to be. And how did you figure out that it was supposed to be this way? Is there a certain feeling that you felt, or is it easy to get up in the morning? Is it something that you look forward to? Like,
Now it is. It
now
wasn't
it
at
is.
first. And I never knew I'd be doing what I do. If you talked to
Uh,
me right after that record got to the hospital,
mm-hmm,
I've heard it once before, but I definitely think it's worked in my journey or my like whole experience so far. Is, the path illuminates
mm-hmm,
as you walk it, and if you're following what
uh,
feels good, what feels right, and you're taking steps
mm-hmm,
towards that,
mm-hmm,
opportunities are going to open up.
yeah,
A new path might be right in front of you. You can be like, okay, this is what feels good. This is what feels right. This is what my conscience is telling me to do. Let me lean into
mm-hmm,
that even more. Let me step towards that even more. And for me, those steps have led to this point in my life. But
oh wow,
as far as knowing having a plan, no. Or I didn't. I mean, this is what I enjoy to do now. Currently, will I have other things that
uh-huh,
might pop up? Maybe, and I'm willing
yeah,
to take on those things when they come. But this is what feels right. And again, going back to the rec and me sort of having a bonus round on life, obviously, I
mm-hmm,
do realize that I was giving a second chance to probably do something with that, whether it's
yeah,
inspire people to make a change for themselves so they don't have to do what I do or do what I did.
mm-hmm,
Uh, that there is ways to have, I guess my true aim for inspiring or motivating or sort of teaching people to create that
mm-hmm,
new identity, flipping the switch within their life is, if you don't know where to
mm-hmm,
start within, building a better you,
mm,
and
ah,
having a more disciplined mental, physical version of you. And it doesn't have to be
mm-hmm,
this macho alpha thing. It's just having some type of character building habits that you live by, whether it's a brand book or a guide that you follow daily that you build for
mm-hmm,
yourself. It gives it some type of intent to the day. Even if you
ah,
have nothing else going on good in your life, you feel like, oh, life shit right now. I'm in the dumps. I'm in the debt. I'm broke. My girl just broke up with me, whatever.
mm-hmm,
You still have things you can't control. And that's you. They're controlling those
mm-hmm,
controllables and building a better, stronger, more mentally fit and physically fit person can probably do anything else in life you choose to do that much better.
yeah. Yeah. I love that you're focusing so much on the mindset aspect
Yeah.
because I think that that is paramount to really change, kind of like
Yeah.
you were saying. I do want to make a real quick comparison on the injury aspect though, because I've broken slash shattered. It was a nasty break, my femur.
Oh,
And so, yeah, so I was out of work for a long while, and they had dropped my workman's comp because I had been in Colorado the week before. So, Texas doesn't play around. So I'm sitting there, and I had the exact opposite realization whenever I was healing for my injuries. I thought that the world ended for me. I thought I was never going to be able to do anything ever again. So I just
me
fell
too.
in. Yeah, I
Yeah.
fell further into my stuff. I barely made it out of a limp, And so I didn't have this mindset of helping other people or helping myself.
Yeah.
I was totally just I was ready to give up, you
Yeah.
know.
I can understand that. And
So,
there were times, man, hear me out. Like this 180 switch, the person I am today has taken over a decade to not create, but to develop, cultivate. The person you see now, like I was not this guy, super insecure. I mean, that's why I was drinking and partying so hard. I didn't like myself, right? Like I didn't have confidence. I was chasing fake confidence with all that stuff. And I remember some of those days, man, I was super in the dumps. I would just stay up at night wondering what the hell was life. What was I going to do? I mean, even before I was getting into the wheelchair, when I was still bedbound, the orthopedic doctors were like, yeah, you might, you'll probably be able to walk again, but you might need a cane. You know, we're not sure until you actually get on your feet, start building some strength back into your lower body. I was like, shit, man. I mean, I guess that cuts out like living life.
Yeah.
And I get it, man. It felt like a dirt mound was in front of me, like a big old dirt mountain was in front of me, and I didn't feel like climbing. I didn't want to go anywhere, you know. But if you can think about just taking it one day at a time, and that's literally since I knew that I was going to be there for a solid 6 to 8 weeks at that rehab center, I was like, all right, well, let me just try and make the most of today. What can I do today? You know, and it's one day at a time type of mentality. I can quit tomorrow. Quit tomorrow. Austin, quit tomorrow. Just get it done today. Quit tomorrow.
I've never heard it put that way before, and I love that. Quit tomorrow, but do today.
Yeah, just do it today.
Because tomorrow never comes, so you can't quit.
No, it doesn't, man. But I get that, man, and it's hard, and I wish there was more that I had documented. I have a few videos and pictures of that time period, but I was that same guy, man, having to put in implement these daily character building habits of avoiding things that were sabotaging me as best as possible, leaning into things that were building me as best as possible. And I would still go back and touch that hot stove. You know, I would still go and hang out with some of those old friends that were partying and drinking. I still drank after I almost killed myself. Not immediately. Months later, I went back to drinking for a little bit. I was like, you know, I wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale story after the wreck. Like I still went back and there's a thing that I try and do, and it's like any other skill. It can be developed the more you're aware with it and more intent with it, and the more you try and apply it. But using regret as your guide. If you do something, you take an action, you make a decision, you do something, you feel some sense of regret afterwards. That should be a sign, being like, okay, I probably shouldn't do that. Doesn't make me feel really good on the inside. Doesn't make me feel good about myself. Probably doesn't make me respect myself that much. Whatever the emotion is, be like, okay, why does it make me feel that way? Okay, is it necessary? Is it essential for me to do that? No? Okay, well, let me avoid that as much as possible moving forward. Let me think back on this moment. Be like, Austin, you know how you felt last time you did that. And, you know, we're all human. We can go do that thing again and be dumb. But the more you can build that trigger of like, nope, I know how I felt last time. I don't like the way that makes me feel. And it's a skill, you know, it can sharpen and it can be dulled. The more you give it attention or the less you give it attention, you know?
Yeah. I've never actually really thought of it as being a skill.
It is.
Se, but I think you're entirely right on that because mindfulness is a skill, right?
Yeah.
And is that something that you promote a whole lot with trying to change your inner world is mindfulness? Because you have talked about those things that are edifying, the things that build you up versus the things that are destroying you.
Yeah.
So
100%. And being mindful, I've over some time now, I've been reading a lot of philosophy, some stoicism and stuff like that. And I've always had this type of thinking, not to say I grew up being a philosopher of some sort, but after reading many of these books, I'm like, man, okay, me going through my own journey and my own adversities, not that I've known it all, but it clicks. It's very relatable to me because in moments of those adversities, those hardships, those struggles, those hard times of me climbing back out of that deep pit, that valley, I had to focus on just what I could control. And that's a big mindset or mindfulness thing that you can do. You can take a step back in a moment where the world seems to be burning up around you. Like I mentioned all those scenarios before. Oh, I'm in huge debt. Partner just broke up with me. about to lose my job. Well, all right, let's take a step back. Some of those things we cannot control. We can't control other people. We can't control most likely our job. I mean, we can control how we show up to it, but as far as, some of those things you can't. Success is subtractive in a certain way. If you can remove those thoughts of things that deep down it's out of your control, even though it's still going to be on your mind, but leaning more into, all right, what can Austin do right now, though, today? Like, what can I do today to at least make one step forward towards tomorrow? All right, let me not go partake in that happy hour or go and eat in those foods. Let me try and start doing things that are going to serve me, myself, and my future self, per se, today, instead of just running away from what I know I should be doing. And I guess I'm having a tough time breaking that down for like outside of the fitness aspect, but I do know within my group, and what I try and teach, at least within my group, is building yourself first, being selfish with yourself. You're then able to become selfless. Because if you're building a better version of yourself, you'll be able to give more back to others, those around you. You're able to inspire, lead, motivate. Are your actions, your decisions inspiring others, or are they giving a bad example to others? That's probably the simplest way to break that down. Are your daily actions, your daily habits, is it inspiring somebody around you, or is it probably pulling them backwards, giving them a bad example? And if you can act in alignment with that as best as possible, we're not trying to be perfect. I'm no saint. Nobody is. But if you can act in alignment with that, everybody gets better, because it puts pressure on you to act accordingly, but it also inspires others to probably fall in line with that.
Interesting. So it's kind of like building integrity in reverse?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, 100%.
I really like that because it works if you work it. And so I say that because I can totally see that, because if I'm being selfish in the right way,
yes,
then I'm going to actually care about what other people say and what I can do for them.
Yes.
But if I'm not selfish in that regard, then I'm literally just going to say my life is, well, not worth a damn, essentially.
Yes.
Wow. And I really like how you said that it's that subtractive mindset, too.
Yes.
A lot of people like to say, let's add on to things, like, what can I do? But you're also saying, what can I subtract at the same time?
So I'm a very simpleton. Yeah, I'm a simpleton, dude. I can't handle but like 3 things at a time anyways myself, and adding anything else to my day, not to say I couldn't try and organize it and make it happen, but a removal process of a lot of things that are just anchors. A lot of people just carry around these anchors in their mind or just throughout their day, and they don't realize it. And once they can cut a few of them loose, you don't have to cut all of them loose, and it doesn't have to be a complete 180 like I'm mentioning. Just remove 1 or 2 anchors and add a propeller or 2 if you can, or at least just cut the anchors off. You're going to go a lot further. You're going to have a lot more clarity.
Yeah, because 1 degree can make all the difference whenever you're sailing over hundreds of miles.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Whenever you're talking about anchors, though, what are some anchors that you find people have the hardest time letting go of?
Yeah. Pleasing others. What I mean by that is always saying yes to, and again, this goes back to like the being selfish to be selfless, but you can't help others unless you've already helped yourself, or at least are in the process of helping yourself. Right. And a lot of clients that join my group, not all of them, but a lot, join and don't realize how much they're putting others in front of themselves, and not in the good way. They're letting themselves deteriorate mentally and physically and emotionally, and putting all these other people, which obviously people have families, we have partners, we have kin that we need to help, of course, if you can. But if you're falling apart, you can't really expect to help others that great. And I think pleasing others is a big anchor. And it's person to person. Simple things, vices. Food, as far as when I say food, obviously we need to eat. We want to eat some nutritious, some type of good food. And you don't have to eat like a straight militant person either. I don't. I still have some fuck around with some bullshit food here or there. But food can be a vice, eating your feelings, eat because you're sad because you eat type of deal. Obviously alcohol, is a big anchor.
Yeah.
For most people, for a lot of people, it doesn't really give any return. There's never been, I can't look back on any moment in my life and be like, damn, I'm so glad that I got shit-faced, I got housed. If anything, everything bad in my life that's happened to me has typically been revolved around alcohol. So, I mean, at least for me personally, I'm not answering for everybody, but that can definitely be an anchor. Pornography, all those little things that people can have, these little tics or habits of leaning into them when they're stressed, emotional, anxious, whatever, instead of just not having to deal with the problems face on, but instead of just starting to, like I said, fall back into, all right, what can I do for myself to make me feel better later? Those things might make you feel good now. In the moment, the short-term emotion, alcohol, drugs, porn, food, all those quick dopamine hits, they make you feel good in the moment. But long-term, they're pulling away from you. Whether it's big or small, they are pulling away from you in some aspect. So those are simple anchors that a lot of people could cut out, or at least start to limit, and you'll start to realize, oh damn, I do feel a little bit better, or at least have a little bit more clarity. Or nobody's ever. I read this the other day. Having discipline or restraint over some things like that can build a sense of pride or a sense of self-mastery that makes you, like, it elevates you. Dead serious, it does. Yeah. And not to say you can't ever indulge in some of those things, but the more you can restrain and have sort of self-discipline. Again, I'm not talking some boot camp style shit, but just having some type of discipline over self, like, you begin to start to feel a lot better about yourself. You begin to respect yourself a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that it comes in something that you said earlier. Whenever you were doing things that you didn't like, or you felt bad, it was partially because you felt like you disrespected yourself.
Yes.
And I do find it interesting that some of these anchors that you mentioned that people have are some that I've dealt with. Well, actually, probably all of them, right?
Me too.
And the other factor that I find interesting that ties all those together is that time. All of those will eat up a considerable amount of time before I know it.
Yeah.
And whenever that time is up and over, I wish I had used that time for something else.
Holy shit, man. Yeah, holy shit. I literally just, I'm not joking. I made a video earlier, and I was talking, because I've had a few clients that I've worked with, and I'm like, the power of no. And not just no to other people, but no to yourself. Saying, no, not today. No, I'm not going to eat that today. I'm not going to eat that meal, that food today. I'm going to eat this. No, I'm not going to skip that workout today. I'm going to go, even though I don't really feel like it's been a long day. No, I'm not going to drink that beer. Or no, I'm not going to drink that. Or no, I'm not going to watch that porn. I'm not going to, and maybe I might do it tomorrow, but what did I say? Not today. Tomorrow, maybe you will. Maybe you will. But it's the power of no to not only others, but yourself is huge. The moment you can start to, and saying no is a skill too, just like the building, using that regret as a trigger. It's all like skills. The more you're at least mindful or aware about it and trying to be intentful about becoming better in some aspect or having more self-control, the no's become easier over time. The no's to yourself and no to other people. Yeah, people at first are going to not understand. They're going to be like, oh, you're better than us now? You're not going out with us? Or you're not going to eat that? Or you're not going to do whatever? And, there's a point in time where I know thank you can get you a lot of time back and also a lot of freedom, a lot of tranquility.
Yeah.
A lot of peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's really not a price on tranquility, on serenity. And I think at the end of all of my vices, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
one thing about the power of no, though, I do have a question, though, is whenever a people pleaser is learning to say no, or I'm learning to say no to myself, I don't necessarily need to give an explanation, right? I can just say no.
No.
Right?
No. I mean, unless you feel like it, but a mentor told me a while back, he said, explanations. True friends, real friends don't need them because they respect you. Like, Of course, they might ask why, but they're not going to say, "Oh, come on." For the most part, if they respect you and you just say no, thank you, or you obviously give your mind about it, and there shouldn't have to be an explanation at all. I feel like, and it's a maturing thing too. I think some people just never really grow up and realize that they're always able to tug people along, which that's a whole nother story. People that they don't want to feel bad alone, so they're pulling others along. Into those vices are things that anchors that can pull people back. So but anyways, no, you shouldn't have to give an explanation, but you can if you want to. It's not a bad thing. I think sometimes that's a good clarity moment to be able to stand on it and be like, okay, this is why I'm not doing it, because I have this or that I'm trying to focus on, or I have shit to do over here in my life. I have this going on. I have to go do this job, do this work, send that email, or, insert whatever thing, or I'm trying to not do it today. I just don't want to. How about that? Yeah. And it's taken a skill, man, for me to say that with like a stern smile on my face to almost anybody, just knowing. And I'm going to jump back to help answer this yes or no question. Something that I try and implement within my group is called pretty much a personal brand book. And this is going to help you answer a lot of questions, not just you, but me or anybody, right? It's like a guidebook. So let's think of a random business. Any business, they have typically a brand book. Let's say Harley Davidson, the motorcycle company, right? Okay. They definitely have a brand book. You know what their colors are, what they stand for, what they do, probably what they don't do, what they don't stand for. Those typical type of things. And we can have something similar for ourselves. All right, what does Austin do day to day? How does he conduct himself? What does he not do anymore? What are some things that, you want Austin to show up like? What does he look like? All these things. And once if you literally have to write them down, go ahead, get a notebook. What you do, what you don't do moving forward, writing out that future version of you, who you want to become. That version of you that you admire, that you want to be like, grow up like, whatever. What are their attributes? How do they conduct themselves, and how do they not conduct themselves? And start to insert the question. All right, would Austin go do that with them? No. Okay. No. Because if you continue to do those old things, like, you're not going to eventually just fall into that better version of yourself. And not to say you can't still go indulge from time to time, whatever that may be. But it's going to take some time of saying no, or having restraint to some things that aren't serving you. You don't have to say no to everybody. It's those things that that aren't serving you. And the more you can say no, or restrain, avoid, and lean into other habits and actions, the more discipline you'll be able to build to where you can have the intuition of being like, okay, yeah, I can go out and do this tonight, and know when to stop, or know when to go home, or know who to avoid, who not to talk to, or what not to do. And I have the intuition and discipline now to be able to control myself when I go do A, B, or C thing, whatever that may be. Yeah. But having a brand book per se, it's like a guide of what's the future Austin do, what does he don't do, what does he look like, and run your actions and habits, or your questions, and you get through people through that. And that's the best thing to probably help you keep aligned with, whether it's, even if you don't know who you want to be yourself. Like, let's say, for example, you have that brand book and you're just unsure about what you want to put down. You don't even know where to start. Everybody, I know you do. I definitely do. People that are listening to this do. You have somebody in this world that you admire, whether it's a close friend, a family member, or somebody on social media that you follow. And you're like, damn, that person's got it going on. They really crush it. You know what? I wish I had a little something that they got. I wish I had a little something going on like that, or I wish I had that mindset or mentality. Okay, watch that person, follow them. I mean, it's 2025 now. We can keep up with everybody on social media now and really follow their day to day. How does that person you admire, how do they conduct themselves day to day, and do that?
Oh, that's a good idea.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be some financial things, maybe, or whatever, but their day-to-day conduct, what are things they do and what are things they don't do that you can implement already, that you can control and start implementing today, now, into your life.
I like that, because back in the day, we just had magazines and the little bits of TV or commercials and whatnot. And so,
Yeah.
what was going on in between those big moments, we had to just kind of fill in for ourselves and
Yeah.
go, well, on the big screen, they're this badass. So, off screen, they've got to be this also badass, you know?
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
No. And it doesn't have to be. Like, I think having like let's say, for example, I'm not sure of your age, but I don't want to guess it, but like, let's say that typical like action hero, Sylvester Stallone, Rambo, or Rocky, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, something like that. Like those big, huge male role models that like you'd see back in the 90s or 80s, and jacked, fearless, confident, but maybe off the camera they were pussy. Who knows? I don't know. We don't know. But it doesn't have to be that. Even if you don't know somebody or admire somebody on social media or this higher celebrity, it could be somebody's dad. I remember growing up and I saw some people's dads because my dad really wasn't around a lot. I see some of these, my friends' dads, be like, damn, he's a badass. That guy works hard. He wakes up early. That guy's always going to the gym before we even get out of bed. He's back home from the gym before we even wake up. He does well for himself because he keeps his house tidy. He makes a good living because he runs his own business. All these little things. I'm just naming things that I remember seeing from dads that were around me when I was younger. It could be something like that. Somebody that's close to you that has some characters or attributes that you admire. Start to implement those things. It doesn't have to be their entire identity. So like, let's say Frank, that guy Frank over there. I really like that about him. I'm going to start doing that. I really dig that because it shows he shows up different. You know, he has something about him when he does that. Okay, I'm going to start implementing that in my own life. What is Frank? Does Frank? He probably doesn't just go eat whatever he wants. He probably has some type of conscious effort on his food. Okay, does Frank work out? Yeah, he probably works out. I'm going to start working. I'm going to start trying to go do something, exercise. You know what? I admire Frank so much. I'm going to hit him up and ask him, hey man, what do you do day to day? That's how it works nowadays. You can hit people up, whether it's friends, family, or somebody on social media. Hey man, how do you do this? What do you do? You know, like pick their brain straight up. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, this is very true. I love that. Asking someone so essentially you could ask someone to be your role model. And
yeah, like a mentor per se.
Yeah, and so in a sense, I kind of want to write out my own brand book and then hand it to the person that I admire and say, hey, could you fill this out for me so that I could look at it and use it as my guidebook?
Yeah, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, no.
No,
I was about to say, it wouldn't work that way.
No, you have to sit back and watch. And probably for most people, like we were mentioning earlier, success is subtractive. You know, watching what they don't do is probably going to help you the most. Not what they do, but what they don't do. Are they diving into those vices, those things? Because probably that person you admire, I mean, most of the time, unless you're a little younger, like the rock star lifestyle and shit like that, and some people, even older, still enjoy it, but you know, it is what it is. If that's up your alley, go for it. If that's the person you admire. More so sitting back and watching how they conduct themselves. How does that person show up each day? What do they do? And more importantly, what do they don't do? And stop doing what they don't do. And that's going to push you that much closer to being a person that obviously you admire, building a person you admire. And again, you're not stealing their identity per se. You're not saying, hey, let me do exactly what you do A to B every single day. Let me be like you. No, let me pull some of the mojo out of what has built you and implement that into my day. What are those actions that you are doing that I can also control within my life?
I love that. You're taking the actions, you're not necessarily taking the identity, because the identity has to be yours. Because if it's not your own, I mean, what's the point?
And the identity is created through the action. Like that's how it is. Like people that aren't doing great are usually don't have great habits, great actions. People that are typically doing great, whatever great may be to you and to me, you know, it's different people, different admirations. They're probably doing better habits, better lifestyle, better choices, you know? So it's our actions do create our identity or our habits too.
Ooh, I've never actually heard it put that way, and it makes a lot more sense. Actions is identity, because it all boils down to actions, character, and integrity.
Yeah.
And we even talked about reverse integrity earlier. We've got about 18 minutes left on this episode, so you are a coach of
Yeah.
sorts, and one that just is all over the place and is just, and by that I don't mean that in any negative regard. I mean that in the best kind of way. Because if I'm going to talk to someone that is going to help build up my body, I also want that person to know what it's like to help build up my mind. And you've
Yeah.
talked about discipline, but since you're a coach, what are some things that people need to look out for in their physical health that affects their mental health?
The food's the biggest part. A lot of
Really?
times, and I'm not saying it has to be these like we're doing some type of like we're cutting carbs out, getting away from pizza, ice cream, all that stuff. No, it's more so overindulging in anything. You can overeat in anything, and overeating,
Yeah.
gluttony per se, is doesn't make you feel good at the end of the day mentally. It bogs you down, it slows you down, and there is something to say. And I'm not religious at all, but there's something to say to how some religions incorporate fasting into their practices, and not to say I'm into fasting at all, but limiting your food and having discipline over your food in some aspect brings some type of awareness, clarity, and mindset training to yourself. It brings discipline, self-mastery. So having a sense of control over those foods, saying, okay, I can have this, but I don't have to eat all of it, type of deal. And that's what I do within my group. I'm not telling them what to eat. Hey, here's some guides that we're going to try and hit, and it's horseshoes and hand grenades. We're just trying to get close. We're just trying to get close. It's nothing about being perfect. I'm not perfect either. But and one, I guess the biggest attribute or the biggest thing that could change somebody's health, which would in turn change their mindset, is the food side. The physical training usually isn't the hardest part with people. Getting people to exercise more, move their body more, that's typically easier. It's not easy, but easier. It's the food, because we all need it, right? But it also is that easy crutch, that easy dopamine hit when you eat something nice, sugary, fat, and tastes good, makes you feel good for a little bit. But typically it bites you in the butt later.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wouldn't really think about that, but at the same time, I'd have to say that I definitely eat more than I exercise, so that would make sense. And with that being said, too, though, since you've got that mindset, you've got that lifestyle, you've got that physical fitness, what are some of the things that you do habit-wise to maintain that mindset, to maintain that physical fitness?
So mindset training, how to train your mindset, how to build it, is doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. That could be anything. And it's holding your own word pretty much. When you say you're going to do something, I'm going to stop doing this. Monday, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to stop eating that food. I'm going to start eating better, blah, blah, blah. Or it could be anything outside of the fitness. Those are just the fitness side of things. But mindset training in general, which is the big limiting factor to most people, our mindset, the way we think, is what typically holds us up. Our way of thinking. Our brain knows exactly what to tell us to get us out of doing whatever we're supposed to do. Oh, you've had a long day. It's an early morning. You had to deal with Tom, Dick, and Sally at work. Take it easy. Just worry about it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. Our brain knows exactly what it wants to hear. It's our brain. It knows exactly what to whisper to you. So doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it is mindset training. And for me, what I implement is early wake-up time. It's pretty much like a non-negotiable. And for me, it didn't always start off this early, but I wake up at 4 a.m. every day.
Oh, wow.
And it's not why 4, it's just that's what it is. And mainly, I guess for me, is it gets me ahead of the day. And there's something that I mention a lot within my group. It's called winning the morning. We all have, most everybody has life obligations, right? We got bills, we got taxes, a lot of people have family, wives, husbands, whatever, daycare, all list everything above that we all have to deal with. With that being said, we have to be selfish with our time. We have to win the morning. If you can knock out those things that you always wish you said you had time to do, whether it's read a little something, read a book, hopefully a nonfiction book, something that's going to develop you, give you some type of positive self-forward thinking for the day. Prepare your meals for the day. When you say, "Oh, I just don't have time to cook," or I don't, I have to go eat out today. No, just wake up a little early, get your meal set up, pack your lunch, whatever. It'll save you money too. Getting that exercise in, getting that walk in, go hitting that weight training before work. And the reason I say win the morning is because if you can do all those things in the morning, not all of them, but all the things that you always say you wish you had time to do, and you did them first thing in the morning before the day starts, the day could go to shit. I could have somebody break into my business. I could have my car blow up, whatever, but it doesn't matter because I got my shit done earlier this morning. So now I don't have an excuse why I didn't get it done, or I wish I had more time, or I don't have time. And that's something that I have to break with a lot of people. And with it, to join my group is, and not that I make everybody work out first thing in the morning, but we take accountability of our days. We're adults. We have accountability. We take extreme ownership of our actions, our decisions. And if we decide to sleep in and we don't have time the rest of the day, well, that's on us. We have to learn from that scenario and be like, okay, I did that twice. It didn't work out. Let me change it up. Instead of doing the same old Monday after Monday, I'm going to start Monday. And it never happens. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So I help people backwards plan their days a little bit better. It's a little organizational thing. Backwards plan our days. We know what tomorrow's going to look like schedule-wise. So we plan accordingly. But wake up first thing is one thing that I help develop because every morning it sucks. And not that it's like, I love the suck, but it's about controlling yourself and not hitting snooze. And I have a mental talk with myself a lot of mornings where I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Getting up. Like you could sleep in an extra hour and a half before you have to get ready for clients. Because I have early morning clients. I've trained people before work, obviously. But I'm like, Austin, whether it's something manic that I've developed over time is, I think a lot of times, what would my clients see me hitting it? If my clients saw me hitting the snooze, what would that do for them? And not only my clients, but a lot of times I'll put my future self, Austin, you want more, you want to develop more, you want more out of life, you're going to hit the snooze button. You can't control yourself enough to just to wake up. And this is an internal dialogue that I've had to build over time. And maybe it's a little hard on myself, but it's helped push me very, very far and get the things that I never thought I'd do. And having some sense of self-control like that, which is built through skills and actions like that. It's not like you're born with it. It's developed striking that knife over the sharpening block, one strike at a time. Every morning when that alarm goes off and I don't hit snooze, and I try and get up as quickly as possible so I'm not sitting there in bed and it gets nice and warm, the more that skill develops and it gets easier and easier. It's still rough, man, but that's the first thing that sort of I do in the morning. And then after that, I do track my foods every day. It's something I've built over time. I haven't always been that way. It's a skill as well that has helped bring discipline into my life. And I'm really big, and the more I've leaned into it, the more it compounds, is controlling those things I can control. I can control my wake up time. I can control what I eat. I can control what I drink, and I can control what I do with my body. And of course, there's other little things like who I hang out with, what I react to, shit like that. But I try and take a step back and in the moment, what can I control? Okay, I can get up. I can sleep in tomorrow. I literally tell myself, sleep in tomorrow, Austin. Just get up today. Like it's a weird thing. I say it a lot, but that's because I say it to myself a lot. You quit tomorrow. Skip the gym tomorrow, Austin. You could just go today.
Yeah. I love that. So it is a lot about how you start the day. And you're really sitting there about really building momentum, swallowing the toad, essentially.
Yeah. Yes.
And after you get done with your mindfulness training, what do you do physically? Like, do you have an actual physical routine?
Oh, like workout, exercise?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I try and exercise daily, whether it's strength train or whether it's some type of stretch yoga or something. I try and do something. I jump rope, I go run a little bit, but for the most part, I strength train with weights and stuff. But outside of that, if my body feels beat up, I still try and implement some type of movement or exercise into the day to try and hold some type of structure and process. So I'll do something, whether I need to stretch, do some type of mobility work, something to where I'm staying active, staying moving, because that only casts or reinforces my identity for real. And I think how do you develop the new identity? And I was thinking back on, like, first off, the mindset of it is doing what you say you're going to do, or what you always say you wish you could do. So it's doing it when you don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be going exercising. Not every day you might not feel exercising, but if you can do it, you're casting a vote into that new person, into that future self. Every time you
Mm-hmm.
avoid it or skip it, you're deducting points from that person. You're not really confident in that person. It's almost like
Mm.
I guess exercise would be the best analogy that I could think right now. Is every time you do it, you're casting a vote into I am a fit, healthy person. Every time you avoid it, you're deducting confidence or self-talk in that person and feeling less confident about that person. So
Mm-hmm.
creating identity is reinforced through daily action, daily habit.
Okay. I love that. Identity is created through repeated actions.
Yes.
Yes. I love
Because we
that.
could have affirmations all day, like, oh, I'm pretty, oh, I'm
Mm.
healthy, oh, whatever. But
But if
if you
you don't
don't
do
act
anything, it
upon it,
doesn't count.
you won't really believe in yourself until you actually do it. And it doesn't have to
Ooh.
be, it doesn't have to be, I'm already there. No, you just taking actionable steps intentfully forward, then you're that person. It doesn't matter if you're 400 pounds. You can be a fit person as long as you are actively taking action. You can be you know, that's your identity because you're doing it. You aren't
Yeah.
talking, you're actioning.
Mm. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Um, Hey, I got a real quick question for you that is a little unrelated to our whole topic, but at the same time it is.
Yeah, go
There
ahead.
is a number that someone can call if they are in any crisis whatsoever, whether they're having suicidal ideations, they just got laid off from their job, they just had a bad breakup, or maybe they just got a B on their report card. Do you know what that number could be? You do?
Outside of 911, no.
Nope. So close. Uh, that number is 988. So anyone can call the number 988 for suicidal ideations, bad breakup, getting laid off from a job, any mental
Yeah.
crisis whatsoever. Someone can dial 988. So if we can teach our little kids how to dial 911 in case of an emergency, we can teach our friends and loved ones how to dial 988 in case of a mental crisis.
100%. You always need somebody to talk to. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things that's great about this podcast. I never know who I'm going to be talking to until I talk to them. Or actually, I take that back. I know who I'm going to talk to, and then I
Yeah.
get to find out who they are. I
Yes.
get to find out their identity as I
Yeah.
talk to them. And
Of
that's
course.
what's great.
Yeah, man.
So, because this is just part of the amazing journey that is Retrieving Sanity. We get to meet people like you that has completely created a new identity for themselves, and now you help other people do the same.
Yeah.
This ripple effect is going to go further than you can ever even imagine. So, at the very beginning, you had said that you had a seed planted in you that grew into all this.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how many seeds that you've planted in who knows how many people, you know.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Like again, it's something I feel like that pulls me to do this and try and help others do the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's something that is great. I want you to keep doing it. And with that being said, I have to ask, even though we are at the end of this episode, could I see you on again in the future?
For sure. For sure. I'd love to.
Sweet. Because this was a great conversation. I'd love to dive into more of what a brand book is for either myself or
Yeah.
someone else and find out maybe there are some things that I could subtract from my life to help create a better, successful identity. Oh,
I'm an
yeah.
open book, so I would love to help out and give some type of actionable steps for people to listen to maybe start implementing into their own life, which
Yeah.
hopefully we did today. But if there's ever any doubt, just start taking those steps forward to what your conscience is pulling you towards, and the path will illuminate as you walk it. I mentioned that earlier, and that's what sort of worked for me. As long as you take the first steps, something will light up in front of you, and you'll feel it.
Yep. I love that. With that, I am going to go ahead and wrap this episode up here. So, for everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity. And this has been Keegan on WY 99.1. And I've got to say thank you again, Austin. Oh, wait, before we go officially, what are any websites or any kind of shout outs that you have?
Oh, I appreciate that. You can sign up for coaching or learn more about it at www.gymflowcoaching.com. And that's Gymflow without a W, Gym, Tymflo coaching.com. And I'm super active on Instagram, so give me a follow over there. Catch up with me, ask me any questions at @apageman on Instagram.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, Austin, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I can't wait to have you on again in the future, and we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you, Keegan.
So, thank you.